The first impression many tourists get of New York is right here at the airport, and unfortunately, it's not always a pleasant one. Today, I'll share how to avoid getting ripped off and scammed minutes after you arrive, and then the best and cheapest ways to get from JFK to Midtown Manhattan, and a few other common airport mistakes you want to avoid that'll have you feeling like a local. Here we go. We're gonna start with two potential scams that tourists need to be aware of the second they get out of arrivals, and one of these is so sneaky that even some of my more experienced travelers could fall for it. You've seen it in the movies, hailing a taxi from the airport and riding into the city in style, but that's where you have to be careful. Here's how it works. You'll walk out here and somebody will approach you offering you a taxi ride. They might say taxi or Midtown. And they may even tell you you'll get a better price than anywhere else, but never accept these rides. Or this could happen. This British couple was scammed $470. A man stood in the airport entrance, offered them a cab to their hotel, and Craig assumed it would go to the meter and cost 50 bucks. The pair later realized they should have been suspicious when he led them away to a private car park, away from the taxi rank and into a minibus driven by a second man. He asked them for the $20 for the parking fee, which they presumed would be taken off the bill, and told them they'd sort the fare when we get there. He started explaining to us that there were new toll fees for going between boroughs and over bridges. He then told me to take me to Manhattan. It was going to be $900. Now, I know what you're all thinking. If this happened to me, I would just get out of the car as soon as he told me that bad price. But keep this in mind, if your luggage is in the back, you're practically a hostage. This guy had an expensive engagement ring in his suitcase, and he really had no choice but to negotiate with the rogue driver. Now, if you do end up taking one of these unmarked taxis, best case scenario, you'll probably get a little bit ripped off. Worst case scenario, you'll pay a fortune or worse. And keep this in mind, even if you think you're getting a better deal, these cars are not insured. If anything goes wrong, you have nobody that you can complain to. Oh, welcome.
We're here for 5 days. I've watched everything.
We're actually making a video right now about arriving to the airport. If you don't mind, you feel free to be in the video.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Imagine that you arrive in New York and the first person you see is me. An even sneakier scam is somebody will be holding up an iPad or a sign that says Uber. Now, maybe you're coming from overseas and you think in the US that Ubers are just waiting for you without calling them. These are not Ubers. They're also unlicensed cars. It's the same situation. You're gonna be going into a livery cab. They're gonna charge you whatever they want, and you have no insurance, no way to fight anything. So also avoid those. I have seen those fake Ubers as recently as this year at LaGuardia. What are the legitimate ways to get a car into Manhattan? And the first and the most obvious is taking a yellow taxi. Now, if you're like my parents, you don't like messing with a smartphone, this is by far the easiest and simplest way to get into Midtown or anywhere else in New York. You just find the taxi sign right there. They will assign you a number and you just find the lane. There was like 10 people waiting. Actually, I don't think you would have waited very long at all for a taxi had you have taken this lane. Guy's really asking for a taxi right there. You see that? The guy behind me is literally trying to get people to not take the taxi line and just go. It still happens. As of late 2023, the flat fare is $70 or $75 if it's between 4 to 8 p.m. during weekdays and excluding holidays. Then we have tolls up to $6.94, a $2.50 congestion surcharge for trips that end in Manhattan south of 96th Street, which is likely where you'll be staying. So you're looking at about $95 to $100, including a $12 to $15 tip. This is not an inexpensive method to get into the city, but I do recommend it highly for groups or for people that are just not comfortable navigating public transit. By the way, if you have an issue with your driver, the good news is that you can contact something called 311. You can report unsafe driving or any other issue you run into. Just make sure you have your driver's name or identifying number from the taxi if you do run into any problems. And one more thing, all New York City taxis must have a working credit card reader. Ride shares. Now, this is my personal preferred method. When I'm at JFK Airport, normally I'm traveling with my wife and my son. I don't want to deal with public transit. And why I love ride shares at this airport is you have 3 different options that you can shop with and see what the best deal is. Important note, any terminal at JFK or any area airport is going to have signs for either ride rideshare pickup, Uber, Lyft pickup, whatever it may be, just follow the signs outside. I'm gonna use all 3 rideshare apps and I'm gonna check which one has the best price, the Marriott Marquis in Midtown. JFK Terminal 4. All right, we're gonna start with Uber. We have got a price of $89.93, which a little bit more than a taxi would be, and you would wait 1 minute, so you wouldn't have to deal with a taxi line. Next up, Lyft. Price would be, cheapest would be $91.95, so $2 more. And my personal favorite is Revel, where you ride completely electric cars. Use this code for 40% off your first 2 rides. $88.47. Although I will admit Revel does have the longest wait of 17 minutes. That's the issue with Revels, is they do tend to take a little bit longer than a Lyft or an Uber. Something else to keep in mind about ride shares is you are expected to tip 15 to 20%, depending on the experience that you had. So factor that in. Those costs though do include tolls. In this scenario, at this time of day, I believe a taxi would have saved you maybe $2 or $3. So they were all almost the same. Now, when you call your ride share, you just have to cross the street, at least at Terminal 4, they're pretty similar, and find on your phone what letter and number corresponds to your driver. So if you got an Uber, it might say B1 or B2, and that's where your driver's gonna meet you. Just follow the signs. They make it really easy here. When you're arriving to New York City, make sure you have the exact address, east side or west side if you're in Manhattan. I'm gonna show you why. If you just put 109 42nd Street onto Uber, you would get the following choices. The first option is in Union City, New Jersey. So if you just tap that, you're heading to Jersey and you're probably spending $150. 109 East 42nd Street's by Bryant Park, and 109 West 42nd is a completely different address. So look very carefully at your address, and if it says New York, New York, that's Manhattan. If it says Brooklyn, New York, that is not Manhattan. Look how much that would cost you from here. $140. One other trick to keep in mind if you have some patience and the prices are surging on all of the apps, if you wait 10 or 15 minutes, it could change. Of course, in that case, you might just be better off waiting in the taxi line so you could see how long the taxi line is. If it's not long, a lot of times that is a better play. Before we get to the lower cost options to get to Manhattan, I want to throw one more out there that I think is just not worth it, and that is the shared shuttle service. It's about 50 bucks, and how it works is they pack as many passengers as possible into a van and they just drive you all over Manhattan, dropping people off. Now, depending how lucky you are, it might be the same speed as a taxi or an Uber. If you're unlucky, you might be sitting in gridlock traffic as the shuttle goes from hotel to hotel, and if your hotel's last, it could take you 2 hours with traffic to get there. So I think in this case, the middle ground is not worth it. I'd either go expensive or cheap. By the way, for those who haven't been here since 2020, the New York City Airporter bus no longer operates. It was $19 into the city, not a thing anymore. If you are on an absolute budget, I'm gonna show you how to get to Midtown Manhattan using public transit. Now, something to keep in mind about both of these options is it's extra work. If you're flying in overnight, if it's your first time in the city, if you have a big group, I recommend a taxi or a ride share. But if you really want to save money, these two options are interesting. So the first step is to find signs for the air train in any terminal. And something to keep in mind here is that for the air train, you pay at the end. You do not pay for your ticket before boarding. It's free to ride around the terminals. That's how people transfer. All right, so a lot of flights have just arrived. We're following the signs here. Transit to the city. It's going to arrive on both sides. We're going to Jamaica Station. Next one's in 5 minutes. Hear what she said? Let the other passengers off first before you get on. That's subway courtesy as well. Remember what I said, if you have an overnight flight, you just don't want to deal with stressful situations. this can be a little stressful. The first thing to keep in mind when you get off the air train is you cannot use contactless payment. You have to have a Metro card or a special AirTrain card, which you normally get from the machine the second you get out.
Because the fee has been waived.
So this is interesting. I've heard stories about this. They waived the AirTrain fee. It's free today, maybe because there's too many people.
Please proceed down to level 1. You can walk.
Well, they must have known I was coming. What's this? Guys, I'm sorry. The air train just went from free to back to 8:25 5 minutes later. I have no idea why. I learn something new every day. You could just get lucky and not pay. Unless it's your lucky day, like it just was for us, and they suddenly waive air train fees, you need to go to one of the machines and pay $8.25 to purchase an AirTrain pass plus an extra $1 for the new card. Now I would just buy a Metro card with it, which would be $9.25. Then you have two choices, one of which is the cheaper one to take the New York City subway for $2.75. Now you could add $2.75 to your card there, pay $12 and be ready with one swipe, or watch my New York City subway survival guide video so you know how to use Omni contactless payment on your phone. I recommend that so much more than having to spend extra money to put more on the Metro card. Just tap and go for the subway. I'm gonna show you how to take the subway and why I honestly don't like it very much. Let's go. All right, so we are following the crowd, following signs for the subway. We're looking for the E-train. So while you are getting the best price, you are also walking a lot more. Now, because the AirTrain fee was waived, this would be the only option to buy a Metro card. And look at this line here. So hopefully you have contactless payment enabled on your phone. You can skip this line. All right, let's find the E-train heading for Manhattan. I'm gonna recommend if you take the subway, go as far down as you can, away from the crowds. You'll get a better chance at a seat. The only advantage I see to the E-train is if your hotel is located close to one of the stops, it actually could be kind of useful. But if you're staying anywhere in Midtown, I just don't think this is the best option. Let me show you what to do when the train comes. It takes about 50 minutes to get to Midtown. As I said, go towards the end and you'll probably get a seat if you're fast. Instead of taking the subway, I prefer taking the Long Island Railroad, also known as the LIRR. So either if the AirTrain happens to be free, you leave, or you pay $8.25 plus the extra $1, $9.25 to exit off the machine. Now you can either buy a Long Island Railroad ticket from another machine, just a little bit down the corridor, or my pick, go to the MTA Train Time app, and you would select Jamaica as the origin, and then either Grand Central or Penn Station as the destination. And there's one right now, there's one in 8 minutes. These are running constantly to 34th Street Penn Station. And you could buy a city ticket off peak for $5. That's it, $5 is what you would have to spend. So that's $2.25 more to get to Manhattan in double the speed and to be in more comfort, as I'm about to show you. If your train is between 6 and 8 in the morning on the LIRR heading to Manhattan, or 4 to 8 p.m. on the way back to JFK, you can buy what's called a peak city ticket, which is only $2 more at $7. So again, the total cost would be $14.25 in most situations to get to 34th Street, Penn Station, or 42nd Street, Grand Central. You've got two choices. We're doing a video about how to get from the airport to the city.
Okay, so you're going to go under all other tickets, city tickets, off peak, and you're going to make it a pen.
Want to go? $5. Thank you. So the trick is, if you want to get, thank you for helping us, if you want to get a city ticket, you have to go all other tickets to get the discounted price. Friendly staff here too. Got on our phone that it's track 2, easy to find. No escalator, unfortunately. That kind of sucks. If you have a ton of luggage, I don't recommend the subway or the LIRR. If you have a reasonable amount of luggage, LIRR is fine. But you may find yourself taking some steps like this. And if you're unsure, you just look up. It says Penn Station, 3 minutes. It is so clear. I'm telling you, for $2.25, you're getting like $10 of a better experience. Very important, before boarding, make sure to activate your ticket, okay? I have to show you all a common mistake I see with the LIRR. I've had viewers, I believe, they get on this and they just go right to the ends. And look, this barely could even fit my small suitcase. In order to find the biggest luggage rack, you have to go to the middle areas of the train. This would fit a suitcase, I think almost double this size. Also, for that extra $225, look how much more space you get here. Oh, just cleaner, nicer. And this goes directly to Penn Station. Now you're still gonna have to walk or possibly take another subway depending where your destination is in the city, so factor that in. A topic that I have been asked so many times that I've never actually addressed in a video is about SIM cards when you arrive to New York. Now you do have the option to buy it at JFK, but I'm gonna tell you why I don't recommend that. Now in the past, they did have SIM card machines. There's one here at Terminal 4, but it's not even operating. So your only option is to go to a kiosk, and I checked myself. I was just curious, what's the cheapest 7-day pass you have?
The cheapest is $45. You get 4 GB internet, unlimited phone, unlimited.
Okay, thank you. The cheapest 7-day SIM card was $45, which I think is too expensive. So your best bet is one, check with your local carrier to see if they offer some kind of an international package. That might just be the easiest for you. You don't have to deal with SIM cards, going to a store. The other would be going on Amazon or any other retailer online before you leave. You can order US SIM cards in advance off of Amazon. And if you can't do any of those, I recommend going to the T-Mobile store, which is right across the street from Macy's by Herald Square in Midtown Manhattan. $15 to $30 is the range that I've been told. Do some research on that, but I definitely don't recommend buying it right away at JFK Airport because they do have pretty good Wi-Fi available. In fact, let me check if it works for me. Free JFK Wi-Fi, free unlimited Wi-Fi. You are now online. The free Wi-Fi, it's working. So if you're concerned about calling an Uber, I think you should be able to get service across this. Should we check? Let's check. If you do call an Uber and you're using the JFK Wi-Fi, I tested it. I lost it like right across the street. So I think you could hang out by the terminal and you could probably see your car more or less when it's about to pull up and then go. I think you could survive just on the terminal Wi-Fi. These smart carts are $6 to rent and you purchase them inside. Now, sometimes if you get lucky, somebody might just leave one out here and you might be able to use it for free. Not guaranteed to happen, so if you have a lot of luggage, this can actually be quite useful. Now, if you excuse me, I'm going to Union City, New Jersey. Now that you know how to get to your hotel in one piece, in this video, we expose every other scam of New York City. Watch this before you visit, trust me, head to this video next.